Hello, Seeya.
Hello again,
How
Jude.
are you? I say Ibuan.
And I do the same.
Okay.
Nice to see you, really
Nice
nice.
to see you again. Yeah.
And now we are sitting outside on my altan, and the sun is
Setting.
setting. Yes, I think in about 1 hour,
Yes.
or maybe 1.5 hours, it will be dark here.
All right.
Yeah, and the light is later and later now until summer.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yes.
but it's a bit chilly. I see you put that on.
Yes, this is nice.
Yeah.
Yes, you need to have it.
We do everything for you, of
Exactly.
course.
We do it for you. So
And
today the topic actually belongs to the current situation.
yes, and I wanted to challenge you a bit because we have talked many times about how we handle money.
It's about money, how you handle money.
It's about money. Maybe it could be interested to listen to different kind of principles or strategies for handling money.
Yes.
We'll see.
There you go. So
Yeah, but you can start asking me if you want to, so you can relax.
I would not ask so much into depth in personal.
No.
So I would ask, when did you start earning money?
Well, it's a good question because you don't believe me, but I was 8 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. We had quite difficult when I was young with money at home. And it was because my father didn't earn so much and we have had no savings really. So it was more that try to take one day at a time. So when I was 8, my father we had a car and he drove around and knocking doors and was selling a package of cookies at that time. And he told me, I love my father. He had so good pedagogic principles. He told me that I could earn money
Oh.
if I sold a paper. At that time, it must have been 63. Now, that paper costed 1 Swedish crowns. And if I could sell one of those, then I earned 25 öre, 25% of that crown. And it was a paper called The Friend of the Sick People, the sjukas vän, run by a priest that took the money they got from the paper to send to missionaries in Africa, for instance, building schools like that.
So you were earning from that?
Yeah, so I started selling those newspapers, and I did it by going with my father when he was out selling the cookies.
Okay.
So beside him stands an 8-year-old boy trying to look nice and say, "Do you want to have this newspaper? It only costs 1 crown, goes to the sick people," like that. And I earned a lot. And you also got a star for each one, so you could use 500 stars to get a football or something. So that was the start of my career in handling money.
8 years old.
8 years old.
Working with your father.
But I continued to find work when I was 10, 12, and 14, like that. So when I was 16, 17, going to college, I had saved money.
Oh, great.
And I also gave some money to my mother. Yeah, every month I gave something for the housekeeping, food, and like that. So I have always worked and always saved money.
All right. When it comes to that, what would be your advice on saving money?
Well, today, those days, you see the bonds going up and down like this, and
Today it's a tricky world, tricky situation.
so
Crumbs.
yeah. So my advice is to have, what do you say, ice in the stomach, calm, and don't do any drastic things because this will stabilize. So that's one thing you can save money is in the market, and you know so far the market always over time has gone quite well. Sweden, we talk about middle figure about 7-8% per year. So if you have long saving thinking, then I think the market is a good advice. But then when you choose the market, you also have to choose the risk. So I have decided since 50 years back to have a principle of taking 10% of my savings in high risk. I want to game a bit, have the feeling of gambling. So just the feeling, and I have appreciated that 10% of my savings I could gamble with
High risk
high risk
investment.
bonds. It has gone quite well with them too. And then I have about 70, 20, yeah, 65, 70% in middle risk and the rest in low risk. And low risk, it's more of bonds, national bonds, you say,
Yes.
instead of shares in
Yes. Yes.
yeah, high risk is 100% shares, for instance. So that's my choice. And for me, it has gone quite well.
I have never been invested in share market.
No?
No, I haven't.
How do you do?
I've saved fixed deposit in my past and also sometimes normal savings. Sometimes maybe buying gold.
Okay, yeah.
But
Have you still have
no,
the gold? Because that has
no.
gone like that.
No, I don't have. To be honest, I spent that and recently I haven't saved that much.
No, but that is because of your situation here in Sweden.
Yes, because you have more spending on
Yeah.
education matters and other stuff.
Yeah, and you are still
Develop
looking for permanent work.
permanent work because I have
So,
part-time jobs.
so your savings, your money goes to daily living,
Exactly. Daily living and
maybe a few months ahead. How do you feel about that?
feel about that is it's not good sometimes because you need to have savings. In the other hand, I reckon saving in banks also there's a risk sometimes because there's huge tax elevations certain areas. Sometimes, for example, with this Trump situation,
Yeah.
sometimes the bank increase the interest or lower the interest or taking more taxes out of savings.
Yeah.
So maybe I think you've given me an advice also to have more in this share market or maybe some other aspects. What do you reckon to gamble with this current situation? What would be the best opinion when it comes to saving in terms of not going into a bank and saving? Where will be the other options you reckon to handle your money wisely?
I would think gold.
Gold,
Yeah.
buying gold.
It's solid and it has always been trustworthy. It stayed quite low as long as the dollar was trustworthy. But you see now, the latest days, weeks, when the world doesn't believe so much in dollar, people are buying, for instance, gold.
In Sri Lanka, there was a trend before COVID when
Yeah.
the economy was okay-ish, I would say.
Yeah.
That time people tend to buy properties also, land.
Yeah, that's also something.
But after COVID, the situation went back to us and people couldn't even sell properties as a business. For example, they couldn't actually even turn that into cash and get it converted into their own needs as they think.
I have one quite original tip. I have bought two small stones called tanzanite.
Like gems,
Like
gems,
I don't know what
gemstones.
what is that?
You call stones, right?
Yeah, it's like a crystal.
Oh
You
yeah,
have diamonds, you have rubies.
we have gems, right? We
Yeah.
call gems. We call gems. Yeah.
The whole. Okay, yeah, it's a gem. But
Sri Lanka is quite popular for gems.
I can imagine that you have a lot of that in your grounds
Yes,
and
we
like
have a
that.
lot.
But this is why I mentioned just specific tanzanite is that I read about this special jewelry. It's in Tanzania. That's why the name is tanzanite. It's a black or dark bluish color. And for 10 years ago, they had only four mines in Tanzania. And as far as I know, they haven't found that that jewelry anywhere else.
Only in Tanzania.
Yeah, and they had 4 mines, and I think it was 1 or 2 years ago, they closed down one of them because they couldn't find any more. So there are still 3 running, but the prognosis is that it will finish in those 2. So you can
It's a
understand
rare, so it's rare.
that in a future, not tomorrow, but in a future,
It'll be a rare stone.
you can imagine that the
Value.
price, it has already risen quite well. It was not much I bought, but I thought it was a fun thing to do. High risk part of my savings.
So the gambling part. And what do you reckon about having debts? Is it good, like having credit cards, loans? Or
The principle is not having debt. My father always told me, and I have it in my backbone, avoid having debts.
okay,
Try to pay everything as soon as you can, and especially if those it's a lot of private loans, because the rent is very high, and you must calculate how much you pay in total. Say you take a loan for 3 years for something, a mobile or something, and then if you figure it out and you count, you see that in 3 years, when you have paid everything, you have paid maybe twice, 3 times the amount that it costed.
you have advised me earlier also.
Yeah, yes.
Last year.
I think it wasn't that a mobile.
It was a mobile.
Yeah, we had quite a good discussion about that.
You said don't, and I went for that.
Well, I explained my thoughts.
Yeah.
It's
I
always
took it.
you. Yeah. What do
Took
you
it.
feel about that
It's
now,
good.
today?
Yes, it's good. It's good. It's good. Yes.
You had another kind of mobile, but your mobile was functioning, so it was just that you wanted a new one.
Actually, the reason behind for that was I bought my mobile phone back in Sri Lanka. When I came here last winter, near winter, it had a issue with functioning because it is not compatible with this environment. I think there was
Okay.
slowing and switching
Yeah.
off and restarting. So I
Yeah.
had to have phone. So then there was Apple one version was released that time, and I was tempting to buy that.
That's the second step.
Yes,
You need a phone, but which kind of phone?
exactly.
And there we had quite a good discussion, I think. Should you have the latest one, or maybe quite useful, but not so like the new
So
one?
that's the one that I bought last year. This is one that I bought. It's a good phone and cost effective. One
Okay.
time. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, I have had the same discussion with my grandchildren and like that, and they also understand, but of course they want to have the same as the other friends they have, and many have those very expensive
That's where we
things.
make wrong decisions.
Yeah,
To go into comparison and
that's
thinking
right.
about others, what they think,
Yeah.
would they think I would need to have the
Yeah.
same thing that others have. I need to have the latest phone, MacBook Pro or whatever. So I think I also not about for me. I would say back in Sri Lanka when I was having my days, I had issues with pens, branded pens like.
Okay.
I told you, right? I had a collection of Mont Blancs, and I also having had a issue with watches.
Yeah.
Branded watches. I had
Yeah.
a collection of watches still
Yeah.
back in Sri Lanka, and also sunglasses
Yeah.
like these.
But I was talking with my oldest grandchild. I think it was a year ago. He was 18, but he wanted to buy new sneakers.
Oh yeah.
And of course, he wondered if I could help him, which I would. But the price, if I remember correctly, was about 5,000-6,000 Swedish crowns for a pair of shoes. And in my life, that is liksom impossible. But then he told me that just that kind of mark that he was looking at, the earlier shoes that had sneakers in that mark had rise twice as much in price. So it's like a collection. Some marks.
Unique collection.
Yeah, not every. So he was not completely out in the desert with his wishes. And I think it's the same with the pen and especially watches.
Yes, collections.
Yeah.
Those are like limited editions.
Yeah.
Mm.
So it could, that also is a kind of, you can think of when you are saving money, you can buy something that rises in value.
Yeah. It's
Watches, diamonds, even arts, paintings. It's a tricky market and I don't understand it, so I don't go into it. But if you have special knowledge, as I think you had about your pens, for instance, then it doesn't seem so crazy.
Yeah, it's about kind of having charisma, a look,
Yeah, of course.
possession like that.
Then that's a dangerous thing when you are spending money to have that kind of example.
Yes. And the other thing is, what do you reckon having emergency fund with you? That's
Emergency funds.
for example, for emergency, you should have
Yeah.
a backup.
Yeah.
It's a must, right?
Yeah, everyone that knows about this give that as an advice to have, what do I say, at least 1 or 2 months of salary in savings for unexpected expenses. So if you have 20,000 Swedish crowns as a monthly salary, maybe you should try to have 40,000 on your bank account as a emergency resource. That's their advice.
And
But then that is very hard for
but
many people in Sweden.
that amount can be covered for like several months, right? 40,000 will be okay with having your expenses for several months, like to cover your expenses for like emergency fund as a
Wow, I don't know, family with 3 children, then the money goes quickly. It does. So if you lose your work and don't have any money at all, I think that amount will quickly go away. But still, you have it. If you didn't have saved that money, then it would have been even more troublesome.
What do you reckon? Short-term financial goals,
As
short-term for goals. So what do you think? Like short-term, long-term. Short-term, what do you
well,
think to have as a goal with money? Short-term planning of money. What do you reckon? And long-term,
as much as possible.
as much as possible. I mean, for example, you said
Yeah.
about bonds. Bonds are like for short-term, right? You rotate them. When it comes to share market, those are like short-term, right?
Yeah, well, as I said before, this division I had in 20, 25% and 70 and 10%, that's the plan for the long saving, long perspective. And for the short time, that's more for coming vacation, maybe in a month or two, have savings for that. That is money you can have on your saving account. And then you have the daily need of money, so you can buy food and pay the rent and like that. It's quite tricky if you, for instance, have this personality that buys things when you see it
Okay.
by impulse, and then the day after you see that money I needed to pay the rent tomorrow, and you don't have the control over it. So that's a kind of personality.
So don't go and buy stuff when you see it.
Well, some of those people that have that kind of personality also have maybe another view of life that, okay, I may be dead tomorrow, so why saving money, for instance?
You live once.
Yeah, you only live once. Some live twice, but you know what I mean?
Yes, I.
So it's that kind of personality, and often very wise people that just have that demand of buying things, and then they see after a few months that they have several 100,000 in debt, and how to get out of that.
Piling up.
Yeah,
Really.
yeah. Especially those private loans for just consuming things. But on the other side, most people that buy, for instance, a car need to have loans. Then the challenge is to find as good loans as possible.
Of course.
And because you need the car for different reasons. Some need the car just to have the work they have. I think your situation was like that.
Yeah, same.
You needed a car.
And you supported me.
Yeah, yeah, of course, because that was kind of a different situation. Because in that situation, you could have that job and you could earn money and you could pay the loan. So in that way, it's quite different. And also people that are buying a house here in Sweden, for instance, I think everyone has quite big loans on the house, but that's the difference between the house and the car.
Yes.
Of course, the car loses value every day,
Yes. House
but the house again
goes up.
goes up.
The value goes up.
Yeah, in principle.
Yes.
That's also something to think about.
How do you think of tracking your spending?
Well, in my life, I have not so, it's not so complicated.
You have a track, just
As
you
for money and buying things, I'm rather, I don't know, say that I would be special or unique in some way, but I don't have so much spendings. It's food and clothes sometimes, but I don't exaggerate.
Yes.
The most of my money I spend,
You know where you have spent.
yeah, I spend on the house and the daily living and on my children and grandchildren.
Sometimes some people don't have clue. And sometimes you
That's
go
right.
to a party or club or evening function and you get, I mean, drunk. That's normal.
Yeah,
And then you spend and stuff. Next day you realize, no, you have spent kind of thousands.
yeah, that's right. And also those who are gambling, but that's a special situation. It's quite a sickness for many.
Yeah, that's a sickness. Yes.
Yeah,
That's a problem that
that's special. That needs special thinking.
and the last thing that I want to ask also to discuss, are you satisfied with your financial situation? Because some people think even though they are, for example, billionaire, multi-billionaire, they still need money.
Yeah,
But some people would think, okay, this is enough for me
yeah,
to have a good life, and that's enough for me to
yeah,
live.
yeah.
Are you satisfied?
Yeah, but if you put it that way, I want more.
Of course, it's the
No.
nature of human.
Yeah, not for everyone. And that need is not strong in me, but it's kind of reach a feeling of security, not only for me, but for the whole family, children and grandchildren. So that's why I can think that I need more.
Yes.
But I don't really need more. I worked like a doctor for all my year, and you can't say that the salary is bad for doctors
Yes.
in Sweden. And I also told you I started saving when I was 12 in bank accounts. So with that kind of handling money, I can't say that I have any problems with it. I don't have to think so much if it's something I really need. But as I said, my children ask me, what do you wish, for instance, for Christmas and my birthday? And I always have so difficulties trying to find out something to have. So I answer them that I want experiences. Take me out in the forest and we grill hot dogs, for instance, in the winter.
You need the memories, the feelings, emotions.
Yes, to being together and doing something, and it doesn't have cost anything
Yeah.
really. You can also have a picnic out in the summer somewhere. That's more valuable for me if I do that together with the family or part of the family than having a thing like.
True, true. That's
Yeah. So when my oldest grandchild asked me last time, what do you wish if he wants me to get less fat?
to
So
lose
we have put up
weight.
a goal. When I reach that weight, he wanted to give me something.
Oh, it's a kind of a target.
Yeah, it's a target.
Challenge.
And then we agreed on that I wanted an evening when he made the food, three-course dinner and dessert, and just he and me and sitting talking.
Oh,
Maybe looking at a movie or
movie.
something on the TV.
So that's a thing.
And that I really mean.
Great. So hope you have enjoyed and you have gained some thing that what we have discussed, Sia's experience from that and how you can manage your financial situations. I'm also learning still how to manage and with the expenses. People have different styles of
Yeah.
spending, different styles of handling their financial situations. With the situation that we are in now and pace that the world is developing and going on, you need to be more careful handling how you
Very
handle
much.
money and how you handle your wealth and properties and things like that.
Yeah.
So hope you have gained something from this episode. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And see you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.